Now, on the 30th of July, the Honorable Minister of Finance, Professor Ngube, unveiled the Zimbabwe Midterm Budget Review 2026. Now, on this special episode, we want to unpack Zimbabwe's Midterm Budget Review, which is a key policy update that assesses economic performance during the first half of the year and sets the direction for the remainder of the fiscal year. Now, joining us to discuss the review and what it means for business, investments and the lives of ordinary Zimbabweans is the Deputy Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, Honorable Kuda Mnangagwa. Honorable, it's a pleasure having you in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Now we're just going to jump straight into it. Honorable Deputy Minister, what's your assessment of Zimbabwe's economic performance since you assumed office to date, and what are the key highlights of this year's midterm budget review?
Thank you, Tafari. I'll be brief on the journey. I was privileged to be able to come into office at a time when we were transitioning from the first of our national strategy, NDS-1, into NDS-2, which gave an opportunity to see and review how well we'd done in the first tranche going into the second one. I would say that the journey to becoming a prosperous upper middle income economy is on track. I would say it is above where we would have anticipated it to be. And some of the reviews that we're going through will speak to that. You talk of a midterm budget review, which essentially is not a budget presentation in itself, but like you mentioned, an update of where the economy is. During the last half, it gives an update on the macroeconomic environment. It gives a snapshot of where we are in terms of the budget that would have been passed by the minister in the previous year for the year 2026. And it also gives us a sense of where we are in terms of the journey to the Vision 2030 and where we are versus where we should have been if we were on track. So these are some of the highlights that come through in the midterm budget review. In terms of the overview of what was in the midterm review, we'll speak to a general macroeconomic environment. The economy is poised to grow by 5% in 2026. This is coming on the backdrop of an 8.3% growth
in 2025.
In 2025.
Yes. Sorry, yes?
I think it's only Ethiopia that registered, I think 9% or something above. I would have to check the figures. Right. But by all sense of measure, we're definitely doing well. And this has been the trend over the last few years. The projection for 2025, if you look at the Q1 of 2026, we had a growth of 6.8%,
yes.
Which means that we are on track to grow our economy by 5%.
Oh. Now, Honourable Minister, I'm curious, what informed the major policy adjustment announced in the review?
I would say that there were no major policy adjustments.
Okay.
The minister has been quite clear that we are staying the course, and this was reflected in his review. So any announcements and pronouncements were merely reaffirmations of policy pronouncements that are already in place. Right. So you'll find that focus was on ease of doing business reforms, which will allow and catalyze acceleration of the growth of our economy, efforts to value add and beneficiate our minerals. There were some changes throughout the year in some of our tax policy to release pressure from our people. We had rising oil prices. It was a global phenomenon that affected everybody. So you'll find that we reviewed some of the taxes on fuels downwards. There was loss of revenue. But by and large, at the midterm, in terms of revenue, we are performing better than what we anticipated. We collected in excess of 10 billion above targets.
The target was how much? 9 billion?
The target for midterm by the 6th month should have been 125 billion. So we collected 10 billion more, which then went to servicing our public debt and some of the service providers. So there was some excess in that regard. So regardless of the geopolitical tensions, we've managed to absorb some of those shocks and still perform relatively well.
Very, very well. I'm now curious, Deputy Minister, how does the review support Zimbabwe's economic growth targets for the remainder of the year? Already you're saying we surpassed, but that's one area. Are the key areas that we've surpassed?
So the whole idea of the review is to look at where we are.
Yes.
So you look at your revenue. Are we on track? Clearly, we've surpassed the target. We then look at the expenditure side. Are the government agencies and departments absorbing their budget the way they should be? I believe on average it was around 42%, which is what we expected. The first 6 months are the lower revenue years and the lower spent years, spent months as well. Others spent above budget, but by and large, I will say that we're on track. What this does, Tafara, is that it keeps us on track within the national strategy. There are various metrics around becoming an upper middle economy that will make sure that it is not just quantitative but qualitative. In our economic team, we're looking at the GINI coefficient.
Please elaborate for viewers who may not be aware, the GNI.
The GINI coefficient is one that measures equity amongst people. So we are targeting to have a GNI coefficient of 0.35 by 2030. Now, what those numbers mean is a GNI coefficient of 1 is an economy where one person has everything and everybody else has nothing. And 0 is a perfectly equal society where everybody earns the same, makes the same, and has the same. Our target is to make sure that we achieve 0.35 by 2030. Now, this ensures equity in terms of distribution of economic activity. When you talk about being upper middle income economy, especially for an economy like ours that is rich in resources, you also need to be careful where that distribution is. If our young people are leaving the country, going to South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, which enjoy upper middle income society status, you want to make sure that they're accessing the same quality of life and services that are in those places, so that you stop that immigration, and for those who are coming back, they're equally comfortable. So this is the desire. This is what that status actually means.
Zimbabweans were not aware. The way you explained it is now much more clearer.
Sure.
Now, as a businessman, what message would you like businesses and investors to take from the midterm budget review?
I think in the minister's words, what we have is policy clarity, certainty, and consistency. This allows predictability. We have had single-digit inflation from January to date. This hasn't happened in over 3 decades.
Yes.
What this means is that you've got 60% of the population that hasn't experienced the amount of stability that we have now. That is consequential. It means that we've entered a new era in economic transformation.
Indeed.
There might be some nostalgia from the past, but the matrices speak for themselves. You have an exchange rate that has been stable.
For the longest.
And these are the markers and indicators that indicate that you can plan. If you have 30, 40 ZEG in your pocket in January, and you wanted to buy a loaf of bread and decide, you know what, I'm going to buy this loaf of bread in December, you can put that money away.
Actually, something that just even the parallel market, the black market rate, it's been stable. It hasn't been going up and down like in the past years before. It's been quite stable.
That is your prudential fiscal policy that is coordinated with your monetary policy. So these are very deliberate policy measures to maintain stability and ensure that where there is a trust or confidence deficit, by continuously doing the right thing, you send the right message, and this gives business confidence.
All right. Now, as Deputy Minister, some of the sectors that have received the greatest attention and why, could you just list them? Probably the top 3.
I will say in terms of policy imperative, your mining sector has received due attention.
Yes.
You found that there was a ban in lithium ore export and concentrate export as well, chrome as well. We want an industrialized economy where we move up the value chain rather,
Yes.
and this creates jobs. You know, as a country, if we are unable to harness the youth dividend that we have and the resource dividend that we have, we would be unable to accelerate and join the others who are equally endowed in that regard. Agriculture received due attention. We will be experiencing an El Nino this year, which
Yes.
means that the 2026-2027 agricultural season might not be so good to us. This means that government had to be forward-looking and came up with a 6-pillar framework that ensures that we will be food secure. If you remember, in 2024, we had the worst drought in 40 years.
Yes.
But the impact wasn't as felt like the one that we had in the 90s. This was because government had a very good response mechanism to that, and we anticipate that we will be well prepared for this El Nino season.
Oh, that is actually true.
Manufacturing as well. Our target is to make sure that by 2030 we have manufacturing contribute 25% to GDP. This matters because it means that everything that's happening on a primary level goes into manufacturing, which is where the jobs and the value is. Everything then becomes self-correcting.
All right. Oh. Honorable Deputy Minister, thank you for providing that overview. Now, after the break, we'll focus on what these policy measures mean for businesses, investments, and economic development. Do stay tuned. This is World of Business, exclusive to ZBC. Welcome back to the second segment of World of Business. We're still joined by the Deputy Minister of Finance, Honorable Kuda Mnangagwa, to help us unpack the midterm review budget which was presented by the Honorable Minister of Finance, Professor Mtuli Ncube. Now, sir, we're just going to jump straight into it.
Sure.
What measures have been introduced to support local businesses and industry?
Right, dovetailing into the budget review, what private sector opines is a stable environment. So you will find that single-digit inflation, exchange rate stability is the first catalyst to making sure that business has a conducive operating environment. As we go more granular to the direct efforts by government, we put in 100 million in the Industrial Development Fund to assist small businesses industrialize. Main impetus of NDS2 is to make sure that we build an industrial economy. The ease of doing business reforms, cutting across all 13 sectors, have been very important in making sure that businesses are able to lower the direct costs of doing business and enter the formal economy. Entering the formal economy will mean that they're able to access financing, bigger ticket sizes from the banks. So this is government trying to create the environment to support local business. In terms of the products that they produce, government has a very deliberate local content policy. Government procurement is skewed towards buying local.
By Zimbabwe.
By Zimbabwe. NatFarm has been directed to directly procure about 49 lines of medicines from locals. When you talk about steel, I think deformed bars and rebars, you buy locally, cotton, agriculture, a very deliberate impetus to support local business. So we are listening and getting feedback from what business is saying and reforming accordingly.
It's safe to say our government, listening government, led by a listening president.
I would say so.
Now, I'm curious, what initiatives are in place to encourage investments and job creation, especially on the job creation part?
I think the centerpiece of this is the IPSEZ, and I'm going to elaborate. His Excellency and His wisdom has realized that God spreads talent evenly throughout the country, but sometimes opportunities concentrated in your metropolitan areas,
Yes.
Harare and Bulawayo. What government has done is come up with an integrated provincial special economic zone framework. This will create industrial zones in all 10 of our provinces, so that even in the most remote of places, there's some activity that is going on. This will be met with incentives, making sure that each of our state universities understands the ecosystem in the province that they're in. If you are in the Midlands and there's a Chinese company that has come and is making steel, then surely we should be making our own window frames and doors. And so we need to catalyze that industry. So there are very deliberate steps to make sure that the infrastructure is in place to allow these special economic zones to flourish. The idea is to allow the private sector to lead, with government becoming an enabler. Government can only absorb so many people when it comes to jobs, so we need to make sure that we support those who become employers to create employment.
Oh, so there'll be initiatives or rather incentives for the employers?
There's incentive. So in terms of employment, we already have the youth employment tax incentive, which gives tax credits if you employ young people. There are incentives around creation of special economic zones. If you have an export product, for example, tax benefits that can span 10 to 15 years to allow you to incubate. Those policies are in place, but haven't been as distributed throughout the country as we would want. So this is what this new framework is going to do, to make sure that there are jobs throughout all the 10 provinces that are specific to our resources in terms of mining, agriculture, and our endowments. So these are very deliberate efforts that we're looking at. There's a diagnosis of the whole country to see how best we can industrialize our economy.
Now, Deputy Minister, for trivial sake, some of these special economic zones, have they been put into place, or it's a move that's going to happen in the near future? Have they been established yet?
They have been established, but what has not been established is in all the provinces. So you will find that probably 3-4 provinces are having special economic zones. We want to make sure that it is more widespread in doing that. For example, the steel in the Midlands, you have some in Mash East for agro-processing. In Harare, you've got Sunway City. So they are in place, but the idea is to make them more widespread to attract investment, both local and international.
Oh, okay. Now, how's the government supporting value addition and increased production?
What we've done is to start from source. Government has banned the export of ores, whether it's chrome or lithium, and concentrates as such. There was a deadline that was given to make sure that we move up the value chain. This ensures that those who are already enjoying the rich endowment that we have as a country, which is unmatched, by the way, create the downstream industry to absorb our people. This is in the mining segment. In terms of agriculture, there's a huge drive towards agro-processing. You will find that our universities have been innovating so that we have products that are locally made, locally produced, and are indigenous to us. At CUT, they came up with cream from Masao. Body cream from Masao. We have Mapfura wine. We are indigenizing and modernizing our economy. This creates jobs and also is a healthy substitute for us as Zimbabweans, as Africans.
Yes, that's so true. Now, I'm curious, what role do you see the private sector playing in achieving the country's economic objectives? You've been referencing to the private sector. What role do they play?
The main impetus and thrust of both NDS 1 and NDS 2 is to have a private sector-led economy. His Excellency has been very clear that he wants a market-driven economy. That's why you do not see too much interference in market dynamics until things settle. What government has done is be the forerunner in demonstrating that as Zimbabweans, we can make our own roads, we can build our own dams, but government naturally is constrained because you're using short-term money for long-term projects.
Yes.
Our Zimbabwean contractors and business people have seen that indeed you can make a road, you can collect toll money and make money from that road. So we want the private sector to come in and move faster than government has been doing in the infrastructure drive that we have.
Sorry, on that one, Honourable Deputy Minister, do you see the private sector actually beating government? Because let's face it, government has hit the ground running since the introduction of NDS 1 right up until NDS 2. My worry is the private sector, will they be able to keep up with what government is doing?
I believe the private sector can keep up and overtake. Private sector will always be more efficient. They are not constrained by some of the issues that constrain us. The government needs to take care of its people. So we need to focus more on social spending and make sure that even at sub-economic pricing, we are able to deliver services to our people. The private sector is driven by profit. They'll make sure that they get the roads, the dams done much faster, the toll gates run more efficiently. So you tap into that good greed to make sure that the economy is spurred forward. But what is needed is for the private sector to have confidence that if we participate in our national development strategy projects, there will be stability, they will make a profit. For those who've come from outside, they'll be able to repatriate their dividends, and the environment is conducive for them to make money.
Conducive to make money, the Deputy Minister is saying. Now, in our final segment, we're going to discuss what the midterm budget review means for ordinary Zimbabweans like yourself and myself, and the outlook for the economy in the months ahead. We're going to take a short break. We're going to be right back after this. This is still World of Business exclusive to ZB. Now, welcome back to the final segment of World of Business. Now, beyond policy and businesses, the success of the midterm budget review will ultimately be measured by its impact on the people's lives, people like yourselves and myself. Now, our final discussion focuses on implementation, opportunities and expectations for the remainder of the year. We're still joined by the Deputy Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, Honourable David Kuda Mnangagwa. Honourable, thank you for still being with us.
Thank you.
Now, how will the budget review benefit ordinary Zimbabweans in their daily lives?
So Tafara, the first and foremost important thing, you'd know that Zimbabwe has been ranked third in the Open Budget Transparency Survey. It's informative. The citizenry needs to know where we are in terms of the coffers, how money is being spent, how much we're collecting, how taxpayers' funds are being utilized. This is important for those who are paying their taxes and those who might have trepidation about paying their taxes. That's first and foremost. It also provides a benchmark of where we are in the national vision that we've set of becoming an upper middle income economy. If there are measures that we've put into place that will indicate that we're getting there, are we on track? Ideally, everybody wants to know at individual level what is in it for me.
Yes, true.
So when we talk at a macroeconomic level, what is in it for each ordinary Zimbabwean when you've got low inflation, when you've got economic growth, when you've got exchange rate stability. These are things that we've taken for granted for years, but they're now prevailing and they're there. You have a monetary policy that is being coordinated and moving in tandem with our fiscal policy. So you will find that for ordinary Zimbabweans who are transacting less than $100, there are no bank charges. For less than 5, I think there are no swiping charges. So they're very deliberate moves to make sure that day-to-day life of Zimbabweans are made easier while we are on this journey to have a prosperous upper middle income economy by 2030. And it's also important for the citizenry to see where the spending is going in terms of the social amenities that affect their daily lives. If it's health, education, how much has gone into refurbishing our hospitals and make sure that we've got enough drugs, how much has gone to the BEAM program to make sure those who are underprivileged are not sent away from school. These are important lived realities that our people have, and the review gives answers. And where government falls short, we're then able to make sure that we accelerate in the second half of the year. So this is an open and transparent way to get citizen feedback, good and bad,
yes,
to make sure that we continuously improve in making the lives of ordinary Zimbabweans better.
How insightful, Deputy. Now, how will government ensure the successful implementation of the budget review measures? I'm curious to know as well.
Government is running on a results-based management framework, which means that for each and every item in NDS2, there are results that are expected, and you're judged according to your performance to achieve those results.
Oh, the performance-based contracts.
The performance-based contracts, so everything is measurable. We have a fully dedicated monitoring and evaluation team in each ministry. So what is happening is not accidental. Where there is slack or falling behind,
yes,
it will reflect.
It will show.
It will show. His Excellency is results-oriented, and
yes,
there's a mechanism in place to make sure that those results are measured.
That people are held accountable for the roles that
People
they're
are held
in.
accountable.
That's quite it. Now, what economic opportunities should Zimbabweans expect before the end of the year?
You'll find that as we move towards the drive towards value addition and beneficiation, our people shouldn't leave those opportunities to foreign investors. I mean, you already know what is happening in your locality in terms of investment at a primary level. There are government support mechanisms in terms of financing. We've got the Industrial Development Fund to assist businesses to industrialize. Let us, in each of our own areas, look at the opportunities that are there. The Ministry of Finance has a very open door policy. We've got a Department of Investment Promotion. We're able to handhold businesses and point them in the right way. We've got ZIDA, the Zimbabwe Investment Development Agency, that will also be very useful in allowing our people to know where the opportunities are. But I would point towards agriculture, mining, tourism, in the downstream industry, yes, for our people who might not have as big parts as our foreign investors, that there's something for everybody.
Indeed, indeed. Honorable Deputy Minister, thank you very much for having come through the studio, for joining us and for sharing your insight on this year's midterm budget review and its implications for Zimbabwe's economy, businesses and ordinary citizens. Now, from myself, Tafara Bendaguta, and the crew behind the scenes, it's back to business.
ZBC News, the real African voice.